Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for attending in person and online. We're happy to see some familiar faces. We're going to go ahead and get into today's content. I'm really excited. And I'll go ahead and introduce our host. Go. All right, so today we are joined by DeeDee Washburn. DeeDee has had an amazing career. She's worked with some of the biggest suppliers, including Colgate, Pim, Olive, Campbell, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Disney, some really great suppliers. She also has so much experience in retail link, including Item 360, which is what we're going to talk about today. And then as always, you're joined by me, your host, Allie Wellstrong. I'm on Supplier Wiki's team. We work on everything from the event that you're at today to ebooks, articles, webinars. So happy to see everybody here. Perfect. All right, so today we're going to be going very quickly because we've got a lot of slides. I think the total count is 116 content slides. So we're going to be moving quick. We're going to do a quick introduction on Item 360. We're going to do an overview of some of the key terms and programs when it comes to working with Item 360. We're going to talk about the foundation of data integrity and packaging accuracy, and then item setup and maintenance, which is kind of what our bread and butter will be today. And then at the end, we will have time for questions with DeeDee. So get your questions in early if you're online. And then as well, we'll have time for in-person questions as well. All right, so a couple of FAQs that we usually get at events. Our design team works very hard post-production to get a recording that is easy to watch. That will be in your inbox in 3 to 4 business days, as well as a copy of today's slide deck. So feel free to take notes, but we'll send that to you here at the end of the week or early next week. Best ways to ask a question. So there is a little bit of a cadence that we like to do. Since there is so much content to cover today, we're going to save most of the questions for the end. If there is something that DeeDee needs to clarify, I'll go ahead and call that out. But again, just go ahead and raise your hand if you're in person and DeeDee can call on you. But we do have, again, like 116 slides of content, so we want to be able to have the adequate time to get to all of those. And then if you are online, please use the Q&A feature on Zoom. I will be monitoring the chat and sending some helpful resources or context or answering questions, but the Q&A is most helpful for me to be able to ask those questions in person to DeeDee. So that's just the easiest way to do that. All right, and then we are Supplier Wiki. We're the educational arm of SupplyPike. What is SupplyPike? Hi. We are a Northwest Arkansas-based software company, and we help CPGs reduce retail revenue loss. And we do that in a couple different ways. We do that at mostly mass retailers and one grocery retailer. Right now, we are at Walmart, of course. We serve Target, Kroger, and Amazon. Today, we're talking about Walmart. And we're talking about Item 360 because we work with 400 plus CPGs that have lots of retailer deductions and compliance issues. And one of the main areas where we see retailers struggle and finding issues with their item setup is in Item 360, and that can kind of bounce over to your compliance and deduction issues. So I'm excited to get into the content today. Perfect. And before I hand it over to DeeDee, I wanted to plug our next event. So if you're enjoying today's content, we already have next month's content up. It will be here if you're in person. Online, we'll always have a live stream for you guys, but we have the wonderful Annette Powell, who just joined our team. She's been working in Northwest Arkansas in Vendorville for a very long time, and she is an expert at audits. So if you want her playbook on how to fight your audits and win them, you should come back here May 8th, and we will be excited to see you and get into that. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to DeeDee so she can get into today's content. DeeDee? Yeah,
thank you, Allie.
Of course.
Hi, who is Trends Results? I'm DeeDee Washburn. Like Allie said, I've been in this vendor community for many, many years, working for many suppliers and then more in teaching and now in consulting. So I do consulting work for Trends Results that was established in 2007. We're full service consulting, business intelligence, retail link training firm, specialized in Walmart suppliers throughout the United States and Canada. We do, like I said, we do a lot of consulting, one-on-ones, and people purchase packages from us to do either on-site training or virtual training. Oops, wrong way. So I have to read this disclaimer. Trends Results is in no way associated with or endorsed by Walmart Stores, Inc. All references to Walmart Stores, Inc. trademarks and brands are used in strict accordance with the fair use doctrine and are not intended to imply any affiliation with Trends Results with Walmart Stores, Inc. Retail Link is a registered trademark of Walmart Stores, Inc. So talking a little bit about Retail Link user agreements, y'all know that everybody has to have their own Retail Link ID. It's Walmart really, it's actually forbidden for you guys to share IDs. So if you have somebody at your company that needs to get into Retail Link, it is super easy. Go to your site admin can set them up. It takes 2 seconds. They'll get an email and they'll have their own Retail Link ID. Sharing IDs could actually have Walmart shut you off of Retail Link. Another big one is sharing data with people outside of your company or outside of your team, actually. So sharing your Walmart data with, say, the Kroger team is a big no-no. So anything like that where you share data outside of your company or outside of your team is something we don't want to do ever. So this is item 360. I've been teaching this course for I guess a little over a year. We started, it's newish. It says new, but it's newish because it's not as new as it was. So what is item 360? Like I said, it's a newish platform designed for suppliers to be able to create and update all items sold at Walmart and Walmart.com. They're integrating other things like, domestic and import stuff, all the import stuff. They're eventually going to have, everybody will be able to set up their items there. Right now, from my understanding, if you have stuff that's coming from China, they're usually doing the setup for you there and transferring it into item 360. Once it's in item 360, you can add to it, you can take away, you can upload images, you can do all kinds of neat stuff with it. Walmart has now fully integrated both stores and online systems for like a one-stop shop. So you can set up your items for online on here. So I'm going to kind of briefly go over some of the terms in the programs. So a couple of terms, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we have 116 slides. I'm going to talk about GTINs and UPCs and what the differences are. GDSN, One World Sync, Works, and Works Compliance, and who needs that? So let's start with GTINs and UPCs. So GTINs are basically a number encoded to be in either UPC, an EAN, ISBN. They're all basically the same thing. They're just a way to identify your item with a unique number. The check digit is a calculated number. You guys hear about check digit? The check digit is always a calculated number. So make sure that you are using GS1 or going on, I just Google check digit calculator when I'm trying to figure out the calculated check digit for, say, the case. So like I said, it's basically the same thing. It's just a way to identify your items. So there's the Global Data Synchronization Network, GDSN. Everything kind of goes through GS1. Is you would go through GS1, you would purchase, it's a paid subscription. You would purchase either 100 to 1,000 to 10,000, however many numbers you think you would need. They would assign you a number that would be your vendor number for them. And then I think it's the first 5 digits, it's a vendor number. And then you have the last, for 6 digits. And then the last part is your item number. And that is what is changing constantly for your new items. And then the last number is the check digit. So you have either what we call the UPC, which is a 12-digit number, a G10, 14-digit number, to set up items in item 360, you have to use a G10 number. So if it's a UPC, which is 12 numbers, you would add 2 zeros to the front of it. Okay, so everybody has been using One World Sync forever and ever and ever. It was the way that Walmart, it's a system, once again, a paid subscription where you could put in all your information. It's still very useful. It's a great way to disseminate your item information to many retailers at once. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. You put everything in one portal, and then you can send it out to different retailers. And then you always have to go into that retailer's portal and add cost and retail and just certain things that are specific to that retailer. So many people aren't using One World Sync. I still recommend that especially if you're a food item, you use One World Sync. It's really important for compliance issues and that kind of stuff to use One World Sync. But I see many suppliers that just go straight to item 360 and just completely bypass One World Sync. One of the benefits of One World Sync is that if you have to pull back an item and redo it, reconfigure it, you can just go and unpublish it. It will unpublish it from Walmart, and then you can republish it with the correct information. If you are in item 360, you can't do that. I've found vendors that have to create a brand new UPC because you can't fix, there's certain things you can't fix. I'm sure you guys have run into that. It's very frustrating. So I talked about the benefits. Works. What is Works? So it is worldwide environmental regulation compliance solutions. It's once again paid service. And what they do is, and they use it for all the retailers. They Target and Walmart, Kroger, Myers, whoever it is. But this is a service that will go through your items if you are an electronic item, if you have batteries, if you have chemicals, if you have small parts that could be swallowed by a child, many things like that, you would have to go through the Works compliance. It's called WorkSmart. There's a link that I'm not going to click on right now, but it'll take you to their page, explain everything. But if you just Google WorkSmart, you will get to that page. If you are setting up an item in item 360 and you haven't gone through the work system, it will say supplier action required because it still has to go through that compliance system. It will know if you need to have Works based on the way that you set up your item. Okay, I'm going to talk really quickly about data integrity and packaging accuracy. So remember I said that it's really hard to get some of these things changed in One World in item 360, because if you mess up things like the case pack, there's several things that if you don't put them in correctly, you cannot fix them later. It is virtually impossible unless you went through One World Sync and then you unpublish it and fix it and republish it. It's the only way to fix it. So that's why One World Sync is still important for people to use. So one of my sayings that I tell my clients when I'm setting up items is garbage in, garbage out. What you put into the system is what it's going to spit out of the system. And if you don't have the right dimensions, weights, pack size, G10, if you mess up the G10, that's a big one. It will create huge headaches for you guys when you're shipping. One example, although some of these things you can change, like tie highs, you can go and change them. Those are used for compliance for shipping. Like Allie said, those will create huge problems with chargebacks, with SQEP and Fix-It. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those apps within Retail Link. So I would urge everybody to go there and see if you have any compliance issues that are driven by the item setup. Okay, packaging accuracy, once again, item dimension, super big. Case dimension, super important, because once it gets to the warehouse, if it is not the right dimension, if you guys put in the wrong dimension, when they're calculating cubes and doing other things, to make sure that they're as efficient as possible at the warehouse, it's going to mess them up. So you're going to get chargebacks, SQAP chargebacks, you're going to get packaging chargebacks, you're going to get all kinds of chargebacks. And some of these, they're not, you can't fight them. Some of them you can, but a lot of them you cannot. Tie high, I learned that you can actually go in and change it. One thing that I learned with tie high not long ago is that if you don't have the right tie high and you have, let's say, minimum order quantities, it will mess those up those minimum order quantities based on the tie high. I don't know why, but that's the way it is. I've been running into that a lot. And I usually have to go back and say, okay, so something's wrong with the tie high. And once I fix that, it fixes the issue. So does anybody have questions about what a tie high is? Okay. So where do you locate item 360? Just, I like to click on the apps button. Okay, I just like to click on here, up there. Just click on apps. You can actually put it in here and type an item 360. First thing I do when I'm in Retail Link and I'm looking for a new app, once I find it, I put a star by it. It goes in my favorites, makes things way easier. So just click, and then once you start, you can click on it. Okay, now we're going to talk about what we came to listen to. Item setup and maintenance. So I know that was really fast. If you have questions, please stop me and ask questions. So item setup and maintenance. So item 360 is, I think, is really awesome. I love working in item 360. Yeah, it can be somewhat frustrating sometimes with certain little things, but the way that they have set up this navigation, I don't know if you guys remember when, you guys may be too young for this, but remember when you did item setup, what was it? There was a portal. You had to fill out a form. That was way long ago, Form 33. And then after that, it was like item setup portal that was just horrendous. It looked like, 1960 called the first computers. You thought you had to do a punch card with those. Yeah, it was a nightmare. This has just become so much more streamlined, easy to navigate. You can find all your stuff. I love how they have just recently changed and put in this little area here with your content scores so that you can go find, you can click on any of these and see, let's say these 32 items that are in good standing. If they need a little bit more, what it is, you can click on the average and the poor, and then you can go in and fix those. So I am seriously loving this. So just to talk about the page itself. So the left nav bar here is, you can look at home will take you to this main screen. Activity manager is anything that you guys have submitted to Walmart to process. Let's say if you made changes to your item, it'll go into activity managers. It's usually a 24-hour overnight refresh for it to be updated, especially if you updated content. Obviously, they don't want you to go in and put crazy stuff in your content, so they want to review it before they publish it. Stuff like I updated a tie high the other day, and within seconds it was updated. But once again, not content. The catalog is the list of all of your items. And then maintenance, and we're going to go in detail into the maintenance. So as I said, the content scores, you can click on any of these buttons and it'll tell you, it'll actually list all your items, like the 32 items or the 311 items or whatever it is, and tell you what the standing is, and you'll see the score in there. If you click on it, this is what'll show up. You'll see that you have, there's these three little dots right here that you can click on, and then you can see what your content, what they're recommending that you fix on the content is. You can do other things there, like you can go to find information about your items. There's a lot in there. I love using those three little dots because I can go and fix stuff right in there. It'll also give you your content score for each item. So if you click on these three little dots, it'll take you to to this page. Eventually it'll take you to this page and it'll say, okay, so you have 2 attributes that need attention. This is what we think that needs to happen with this to get a better score. Remember, Walmart wants 95% score on everything. I know that is almost impossible, but it is possible. And I've seen it. I've seen 98s, which is like, wow, what did they do? But it's not just content scores are not just fixing what's in item 360. It's also about reviews and that kind of stuff that helps your content score. Activity manager. Like I said, activity manager is just what is going on with the activities that you have done. Let's say you've submitted an item and it can be in Walmart action required, which means a buyer to approve it or reject it. Supplier action required if you've set up an item and something's wrong with it, it'll say supplier action required, and you'll need to go in there and see what's wrong with it and fix it and resubmit it. Completed is all the items that you've finished or that have been approved, all the actions that have been finished, and then all submitted. Your catalog, once again, it is everything that you have set up in Walmart. It's walmart.com, Walmart. There, I don't know if you've ever seen when you click on those 3 little buttons and you go to item configuration, you might have more than one number under one item. That is due to the fact that it could be on DSV, could be on .com, and it could be in stores. You could have 3 different numbers, or it could have a different configuration. You could have a configuration of a 4-pack or a 6-pack. And those 2 numbers would show up there. You just have to find which is yours. Also in your catalog, you can do searches. So a couple of places you can do searches. Here in this little search button, you can put in either your supplier or your vendor number, or your vendor supplier ID, sorry, it's not that. It's the your item number, your internal item number, whatever that's called. You can put in the UPC, the G10, you can put the item number in there. You can put any of those things right in here and then just hit enter. You can put a bunch of them in. The other day I put in like 30 G10s and they all popped up. So you just have them in Excel, drop them in there, and it'll pull all those items up. You can also look through the hierarchy if you can't remember what your number is, your item number is, or your G10 or anything like that. You can actually has a little area over here to that you can say product name. If you remember even part of the product name, you might be able to find it. Finding this to be a little difficult. I'm just using this top one because sometimes I'll put in like bread and it's like, no, I didn't find anything. I'm like, I have 8 breads. They all say bread. So anyway, so you could do it by brand code, color, and so on. Most of the time it does work. It can't find my bread. So, and then we have the item setup. So, and we're going to go in depth in the item setup, but I'm just going to briefly touch on how to get in there. So you click on setup, click on setup new, or there's actually a little drop down menu that it could be an item proposal. I haven't really done anything with item proposal because most of my suppliers have asked me to put everything in quotes. So I have not done anything in item proposal. Buyers have not asked me to do that. I guess you can propose one to that buyer. I just haven't done it. Items would be an individual item setup. A shipper would be, let's say that you have a PDQ that's going to the store that has 4 different things in it. You would build the 4 individual items, and then you would go and build a shipper and put those items in the shipper. So shipper's the parent and and all the items are the babies. And then multi-box it's built for e-commerce. It's building boxes that you would ship to somebody with a bunch of different items in it. So see, I went through that fast. So item setup, In item setup, what we would do, and we're going to go into more in depth in this, but you would go to your choose your where this item is sold, if it's in stores or if it's owned, and if it's in stores, it's obviously owned. It could be also online, but owned, which means that it goes to the fulfillment center. And DSD would be direct to store distribution. You would pick your vendor number and your contract number. If you have synced things with One World Sync, you can click this little button right here, and it will populate anything that you have published from One World Sync to Retail Link, to item 360. You would choose your category. Obviously, I do a lot of stuff with food. And then you would put your GTIN numbers in this little box right here. It'll tell you, let's say if it's only one, it'll allow you to do it on the screen. I used to love doing it on the screen, and now I hate it, because if you mess one thing up, then it won't take it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just downloading the form. And once I've downloaded the form and can fill it out and get it completed. The other thing is that if you're doing it on the page itself, you have to have everything. And if you don't have everything, it will not submit. So word to the wise, just download the sheet, fill it out, upload it. Okay. So if you download the sheet, it'll just ask you where you want to download it to, and then this is what the sheet looks like. And you'll have to fill out, and we'll go into this, but you're going to fill out everything in the blues and the greens, and then some of it is optional. So, and once you finish filling your form with all the relevant information, all the blues and greens, you're going to upload it to item 360. If there's an error, it's going to send you back a message. If there's a major error, let's say that you forgot to, what was an error that I encountered yesterday? Oh, like if you didn't classify something, if it asks if it's, let's say it's a video game and it needs to say kids or what type of video game it is, and you didn't put that in, it'll reject it automatically. You have many ways of being rejected, guys. Let me just tell you that right now. You can be rejected for a lot of things. So don't feel bad about being rejected. So it could either automatically swipe and say you're rejected, bye-bye, go back and fix it, or it could upload it. And then once it uploads, it could say, oh, no, you missed something, go back and download again. So like I said, many ways to be rejected here. Normally you just upload it, and then it will, hopefully you have all the information in, and it uploads and it says Walmart action required. That is the most beautiful thing, is to see Walmart action required. Love that. No, supplier action required. Nobody wants that. That just makes me feel bad again. I'm like, really? You didn't like me again? Really? So do we have any questions that we want to? Yeah,
we've got a bunch of questions. Would you rather me go through some of them? Or?
Yeah, let's go ahead. And this is a good stopping place before I really get into the item setup. So let's go through some of these.
First question, based on your experience, what is the most common error in item setup?
Bad error is dimensions. The problem with not having the right dimensions is that it's not going to tell you it's an error. You're just going to find out once you ship it, and you're like, oh, that was not good. Common errors that you're going to get rejected for are things like your UPC, your case UPC or a GTIN is wrong. It'll say this is not a right number because a GTIN is a calculated number. You didn't choose the right category. There's when you choose your categories and the first page, you'll see there's a little drop down on what category you have to choose again. That is a huge thing that people go, oh, I don't know why I didn't do that. So that's one of them. Those are a few of them. There's a lot of them.
One question we had was if you could go over the One World Sync tool during Q&A, just about connection issues. Is there common connection issues with World Sync, or what are some of the ways you can troubleshoot that?
Well, One World Sync, once again, it's its own platform. I would definitely get some training from them because there's a lot of moving pieces with it. And like I said earlier, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't put the right information into One World Sync, that's what's going to transfer over to item 360. But One World Sync can be temperamental. There's if you're not putting in the right information, it will it'll continue rejecting it until you publish it correctly. It won't publish it until everything is filled out. Those are some of the pitfalls. I've gotten pretty good at One World Sync, and so I'm not having as many of those issues, but I think it's learning how to use the system. This trial and error, I've learned a lot. But I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls is not knowing how to use the system.
And are there other systems that you can use instead of One World Sync, and are there benefits to using those over One World?
There are a few other systems. It'll be in the presentation. I think I listed some, can't remember all the names of them, but there are about 4 different systems that do the same thing. I have found that One World Sync is the friendliest of all of them. There was another system I used, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was a nightmare.
Like Saltify is one of them.
I have not used that one. There's another one. I can't remember what the name of it, but there's another one, and it is a nightmare to use. It is almost impossible to publish your items. I have found, and probably because most of my clients have ended up working in One World Sync. As a matter of fact, my other clients that didn't work in One World Sync, I'm like, I'm not using that system. It's awful. They don't explain things. They don't tell you what's wrong. You publish things, you try to publish things, and they don't publish. And so you're waiting hours and hours and hours, hoping that it's published because it says it's published, and then it's not published. It's hard. I'm a One World Sync fan because it'll tell you if it's not going to publish it. It's like, nope, not doing it. So, but some of the other portals, and once again, I think it's learning how to use those systems and knowing how to use them well. And I probably didn't know how to use that other system very well. And I mean, I'll admit it, I just didn't know how to use it that well. And I taught myself how to use it, and there's just pitfalls. So they all have good things. I think all of those systems have good things. None of them are perfect.
We have a lot of more One World Sync questions. Do you want to keep going into them or save them for Q&A?
Let's save this for Q&A.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, you can keep
okay.
going. We've got a lot of One World Sync questions.
Yeah, let's save that for Q&A.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think you mentioned this at the beginning. Is direct import still set up separately from item 360?
The question is direct import still set up separately from item 360? What I'm finding is that most direct imports are being set up in China or wherever they're from and importing into item 360. I do not think that we can set them up in item 360 yet ourselves.
Is that just the initial setup?
And then you can edit anything. Once it's in item 360, you can go to town. You can edit it. You can add images. You can do all that stuff, unless you're apparel. And if you're apparel for images, you really need to go through Workhorse. One more portal, just one more portal.
Are there any, is item 360 going to be the home for just about all items for just about all suppliers?
Yes.
Anything outside that?
No, there will, item 360 will be, the question is item 360 going to be the home for everything? Yes, absolutely. They have said that they're putting a ton of resources in it. They're putting a ton of education into it. And this is where they want everybody to do everything. And when I go through the item maintenance, you'll see that it's not just item setup, but there are things like your logistics information, cost changing. There's everything will go through item 360. Okay, so let's complete an item 360 new item setup. Like I said, here's on the screen. I'm going to show you how it works on the screen. Once again, not my favorite, because if you don't have all the information, you have to scrap it and start over. And I like to download the sheet now. There's a little button over here, right here. If you click on that, it'll highlight everything in yellow that you have to fill out. So that's super helpful. So you'll go through, product name, brand name, net content, all of the specific things that are they're unique to your item. And so there's 2 pages. Just if you have downloaded the sheet, in the sheet there is two tabs. One of them is product content and item experience, site experience, and the other one is trade item configuration. Product content and site experience is all about what the customer sees. Basically what the customer sees, your content, your images, what it's called, what your description is, which can be like 4,000 characters, or what size it is. Everything basically, not 100%, but almost everything that's forward facing to the customer is going to be in your product content and site experience. Everything that is logistics is trade item configuration. So that is, so your cost, your brand ID, make sure that you guys get a brand ID. There is a little number, it's like 8824 or whatever, I can't remember the number is. It will find a black hole to put your item in when you use that sometimes. I've had several items, it's like, it says use this if you don't have a brand ID. Don't know where my item went, it's gone. Or it ends up in someone else's inbox. So I suggest that everybody gets a brand ID. It's super easy to do. There's a little spot where you can go to help, type in brand ID. They'll give you the form, the email that you send it to, get a brand ID. I can't emphasize it enough. So once again, so that's all forward facing. So this is are you a private label? Does your item contain batteries? Very careful. If you click yes accidentally, you're going to works. And then you are in la la land for about 4 days until, never click yes unless you do works. Trust me, you will hate yourself. You're going to be going, oh God, I can't believe I did this. It's a horrible place to be, because to get it unstuck from works, you have to submit a ticket. And then once you submit the ticket, they have to answer you back, and it could be, don't do it. It happened to me once. I learned my lesson really quickly. So sales restrictions, that's another spot. If you put sales restrictions, works is coming for you. They're going to say supplier action required, and you will never get out of that loop. So if you don't have restrictions, say no. Make sure that you're putting in, you need at least 3 images, They want 5 images. 3 will get you there, but then your content score won't be great. So yeah, and then you have additional images, manufacturers, MSRP, all of this information that you need to fill out. Once again, all this is forward facing to the customer. I just went through the screenshots of all of these. It's a lot. There's a lot. You don't have to fill out everything. If it's not highlighted in yellow, you don't have to fill it out once you click that little button. On this page, it's not clicked. And then you would go through that fast. Your item configuration, your trade item configuration. Here's where you're going to put supplier stock number. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. Supplier stock number. You're going to put your supplier stock number. You're going to put in your unit cost. Make sure, once again, if you do not put in the right information in here, oh my God. If you put in the wrong cost and the wrong retail, and this gets approved, you have to go set it up again. Or you have to get the buyer to, act of God, change it, which is almost impossible. I'm going to tell you, if you mess up the cost and the retail, guys, God help you. It is awful. That is as bad as clicking on, actually worse than clicking on, yeah, I have a battery when you don't have a battery. You will end up in a loop that you can't get out of. If you have One World Sync, you can pull back the item and then republish it, or redo it again. And otherwise, it's going to ask you for a new UPC, because that UPC or that G10 for the case is already set up. And now it's going to ask you for a new G10. So who wants to create a new G10 for their item that already has stickers of the regular G10? Nobody wants to do that. Break pack, really important. You guys know what a break pack is? Okay, if you are not break pack, do not put break pack. I'm just telling you, experience, don't do it. Pallet tie high, it will not accept it without pallet tie high. Make sure that you have the right pallet tie high. Orderable G10 is the same as your case G10. Your department's already in there, it'll be grayed out. Your fine line, make sure that you're in the right fine line. If you're in the wrong fine line, it will send it to the buyer who owns that fine line, and it will not get approved by your buyer. So that is really, really important. Buyer region code, we'll go through all that here in a minute, but there's just different little drop-down menus that you have to fill all of these things in. Okay, there we go. I can go through all of them. We're going to go through it on the sheet. Okay, this is super important. Your dimensions, it's pack type is eaches. Make sure that you have the right dimensions. Level 2, you're going to click on that and you're going to tell what kind it is. If you are a break pack, you would have an inner. If you're not a break pack, you will not have an inner, just put case. If you put inner, it's going to expect for you to set up the 3rd level. Once again, all the dimensions, all the information about it. And then you see that it says optional here. You don't have to fill out any of this stuff. If you are replacing an item, let's say that you're creating a new configuration. Let's say your item was set up as a 4 and now you need to set it up as a 2. You're going to click, you're going to put the new item in this item, replace item number. It doesn't mean it's going to do it. I always put it in there just in case. You're still going to have to go back to the buyer and have them link it and put the new one in prime position so that it orders and all that stuff. But it's there, so I put it in there. Once again, all of this is not mandatory. When you're finished filling all of the yellows out and everything looks correct, make sure that you, after that, you're going to click the submit button and it's going to submit it. If there's errors, it's going to say supplier action required. You're going to have to go and fix them. Doesn't preclude you from doing that, even if you do it on the screen. So let's talk about shippers. Do any of you guys do shippers? No shippers? Well, I'm still going to talk about it. So shippers are, so once again, if you have, let's say you're sending a PDQ, you have a promotion, you're sending a PDQ, even if it's the same item, but you're putting it in a PDQ and it needs to be a certain number. So let's say your case pack is 4, but you are creating a promotion, you're putting in a PDQ or it's going, you know, in this case that's going to go to the store for this promotion, but it has 18 units in it, not 4. You're going to go in and you're going to say, okay, so you have your item. Normally you would set up your regular item, and then you would go to the shipper page, you'd click on shipper, and you would say, okay, my supplier number, my contract number, and you would put the parent G10 in here. This is the number that is associated with your shipper. It cannot start with a 1. It has to look like a regular UPC. It has to start with 00. I don't know why, but that is the way it is. I've tried many times with a 1. It does not like it. It does not like to start with a number. So it has to be a UPC-ish with the 2 zeros in front of it. So, you know, UPCs are 12 digits with 2 zeros in front. This is a G10, but it has to start with zeros. Once you do that, it's going to say, okay, so what's the supplier stock ID for that item, for that shipper? You're going to give it the name. You're going to give them the dimensions of that shipper, what the tie high is for that shipper, and then you're going to add the children. So you're going to go find the children. You're going to do that by using a G10. So you're going to say, okay, so it's saying, okay, what is a child ID? That's your G10. And how many units? So let's say it's not an assorted shipper, it's just a regular shipper for a promotion. You'd say G10, whatever. And then you'd say, this one has 18 of these in it. You'd put that number in there. And so it'll know that it only has 18 units of that. Even though your case pack is 4, it's going to say that it's going to do the units. And then you're going to submit it and see here, it's going to say, okay, so it's going to give you the description and all the information about the item. Here's your Walmart. It'll say, so you know how you can have more than one item number? So you'll have a little drop-down menu here that will allow you to pick the right item number, because you could have a bunch of different configurations. You don't want to pick an item number that is for Walmart.com when it's for the store, it's the store one. And then you're going to say, it has 24, it has whatever number in it. And then you're going to submit it. And now you have created a shipper. You're going to name it and create a shipper. And then once again, Walmart action required, they have to approve it. Here, I very rarely see supplier action required. Normally, if you, because this is so easy, you don't have to put a ton of stuff in. It's already set up. It already knows what to pull, what information to pull to populate that. Okay, so multi-box, once again, not going to go into depth in this, but this is for creating a multi-box for e-commerce. I can, if you guys have questions later about this, I can go into depth with it, but it's very rarely do we ever do this. This is more for suppliers that are pretty much all .com. Sure.
Are sugar assortments the same or different?
They're the same. Yeah. So a shipper is basically the box that you're building with. You could have either one item or you could have multiple items in it. So if I go back here, so you can see here. So if I had had multiple items in it, I would have said, okay, so I need 24 of these, and I need 24 of these, and I need 24 of these. And I'm going to put them all in a box that is going to the store for a promotion.
What would be the difference in, like, how does a shipper identify if it's the same item in your case of 18 versus a case of 4? What's the difference in setting up just a case of 18 as a new item versus a shipper? Sounds like shipper is actually easier, maybe, because you already had the
Shipper's easier. The question is, what's the difference between just setting up a new item as an 18 versus setting up a shipper? A shipper is a temporary thing. It's not going to show up in your list of items. When you set it up, you remember how you can like drop down? You don't want to have a bunch of different items in here that you're not going to use. And that creates one, confusion. Secondly, somebody could go and order 18. You don't pack at 18. You never want to ship at 18 unless it's for this shipper. If you set it up and a buyer goes, oh, maybe I want 18 of those, and they order it from you and you don't ship it, what's going to happen is that you're going to get a chargeback because you didn't ship what they ordered. So do not set up a new item. Okay, so multi-box, I'm going to get out of there. Okay, maintenance hub. We're going to briefly go through maintenance hub, and then we'll go into more detail about maintenance hub. Okay, so maintenance hub, once again, Walmart has created Item 360 to be kind of a one-stop shop, so you can get a lot of your things that you need done without having to go back to them constantly. I don't know if you guys remember, there was cost change scenario app that is no longer. They want you to do everything in here. That was also kind of a nightmare. Buyers would forget that they had stuff in their portal and things would not get approved for months. I'm sure that everybody can relate to that one. The good thing about this, it seems that once you put it in here and you upload it, it definitely sends it to the buyer. I don't understand what was going on with the cost change scenario, but I have found that the cost portal here is a lot more effective. So a lot of times it'll say if you have DC shipping, it'll download 2 sheets and you have to populate 2 sheets. But still, when you upload those 2 sheets, the buyer's going to get it and make your changes on your cost. So here you can actually do like bulk updates. So yesterday, I had to do a bulk update for a client that has apparel, And they had the person that did the work before I did it, set up all of these items, and they put every single item under multicolor. Every item. We have blues, we have pinks, we have whites, but everything was multicolor. And so they came to me and they said, can we change this? Do you have to go into each item individually to change the color? I said, no, we can actually do a bulk upload. So this is where you would do your product content and site experience. This is where you would change any of those parameters. So you would put in, and I'll go through that, to put in the GTINs or the item numbers. It'll spit out a sheet, an Excel. It'll have your columns that you've requested, and then you're going to fill it out and upload it. I did it last night, probably around 8 or 9 o'clock last night. This morning it came back. I got an email saying all of your items uploaded successfully. Yes, thank you, God. But so it's pretty easy to do bulk uploads. What else did I have to do? I had to do like 2 different things. I know that one was color, and I can't remember what the other one was. I've slept since then. So there was 2 actions that I had to do in bulk. Oh, I know, the supplier ID, the supplier number, like my vendor stock number. They also only put the person that set it up, put the GTINs as the supplier stock number. And so when it went back, when they got orders with apparel, I don't know if any of you guys do apparel, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So they had to go back and kind of match the GTINs to every item internally. It was a disaster when they got the orders. So I went in and changed all those. I did that in item configuration and supply chain. So different parts of this portal, I did it all at once. This morning it told me everything's updated, which is awesome. Rather than having to go in each individual item, which you can do. If you have one item to fix, I would just go to the 3 little dots, go to item configuration or product content, fix it there. But if you're doing a bunch of them, like I did last night, like one of them was like 20 items, I would do the bulk. And the way you do that is by going to the item maintenance. So product content, you would go to your, you can do a GTIN, you can do the Walmart number or the EAN. So I usually just use the EAN number, or the Walmart item number if I have it. So you choose that, and then you put all your you can do a bunch of them, you put them all in the product IDs. And then here you can say, download everything that's for product content. I want to see all of the fields. And what it'll bring back is everything that you've populated and what you've populated it with. And then you can go through, it's a huge sheet. It'll show you everything, right? But like for me, I just needed to fix the color and the color group. So I clicked on this little button, the one below, right here. Okay, right there. And I said, you know what? I just want to see the color, because that's all I need to fix. I don't need a sheet that has, 20 things on it or 30 things on it. I just want to do one thing. So all I did is I went through these. And so all I did was like copy the little boxes. And so I chose color, and the sheet came back. All it had was the UPC, the item number, and then the 2 columns of the color that was in there originally and the color group that was in there. And then I went and changed them all. So super easy. Download the sheet, go and fill it out. And then once again, that upload button, upload it. Imagery, there's a couple ways to do this. You can go into the 3 little dots and go to edit images and upload the images. Unless you're apparel, do not do it there. It will not upload it. You have to do that in Workhorse. Or if you want to do a bulk upload, you can just click on imagery, and then you click on this little folder looking thing, and you will go find the folder that has all your images. You have to name your images with the G10, .1, .2, .3, next G10, .1, .2, .3. And then it matches it to the G10 that you have in the system, and it uploads all those images. So for Uploading a ton of images, fantastic. For uploading 1 or 2 images, I just go to 3 little dots. For me, it's easier, but you do you. Do what you guys makes you more comfortable. But this is a really, really great way to upload a bunch of stuff at once. And that's really what the maintenance hub is for doing more bulk uploads. Rich media, the only place you can upload rich media is here, actually. So you will get your rich media, you'll make sure that your files are named properly. There is, if you go to the help button, it gives you all the parameters on what you need in your rich media. And then you're going to upload that by clicking on rich media. You're going to choose a G10, and then you're going to go find your file, and it's going to upload it. You're going to put all your information into this page, and then you're going to upload it. Yeah. Yes.
On the videos, have you had experience uploading?
The question is, have I had experience uploading videos? Yes, I have. They don't always upload properly. I haven't done it in a while. I did it probably about a year ago, and I couldn't get them to upload correctly, even though I was doing what I thought was everything correctly, and I have not had to do it since then. Don't know if that's good or bad, but I haven't had to do it since then. They actually, at the time that I was doing it, they actually took that entire page down and redid it. So I have the feeling that they realized that many suppliers were having issues with the uploads and getting the content put on Walmart.com. And so they actually took, there was a time when you went to the maintenance hub, rich media wasn't even available. And they revamped it and put it back up, but I haven't had to do it since then. But I would imagine that, yes, it is working since they re-uploaded it. Then you're going to, okay, cost. Okay, this is a good one. Cost used to be cost change scenario. We're all familiar with that one. It wasn't a bad portal. It was just hard to get things to move along. I found that the cost portal here is a lot easier. You're going to put in your item number. You can only use item number. You're going to choose download, and it's going to download this sheet here. I know it looks tiny, but it's going to ask you for the new cost. It's going to ask you why you're changing the cost, what your new suggested retail is, what the market cost is, what they're not asking you for market cost, but they're asking you for what the percent is that they have an advantage. So let's say that you're selling something to Walmart for $2. Most of the retailers you sell it to most of the retailers for $2.30. So whatever the difference of that is, you put, say, 15%, whatever it is. Quick math. I'm not good at that one, but and so you kind of do the math on what your discount you're giving Walmart. You put in, it'll show your old cost. You're going to put in your new cost there. It'll ask you, once again, questions like, why are you changing this? What is causing this? You could have several. So it has a bunch of different bays. So it has 3 columns of what's the change, why are you changing it, what the percentage is, what percentage of that are you passing on to Walmart? You have another bay. So let's say that it's commodity and it's transportation and it's one other thing. You can do it in 3 different bays that'll add up to the total that you are charging Walmart, that you're increasing Walmart. Once again, you're going to upload this and it will go directly into the buyer's inbox. And hopefully, one thing I like to do is when I do these things, I go into my activity manager. And I do this with everything I set up, every time I set up a new item, every time I need help from the buyers, I will go into my activity manager. I will screenshot the activity ID and I will paste it into an email and say, I've just done this action, please approve, especially with cost, because I mean, our buyers, we all know that our buyers are crazy overwhelmed with so many other suppliers. And so they might miss one of our emails or they might miss something. So I want to be proactive anytime I'm setting up a new item, especially especially if it's like for a mod or something that needs to be done now. Cost change is another reason that I will always send it to the buyer with the activity ID to tell them, can you please approve this? So that is one suggestion I give to you guys from learning some of these things. So the supply chain, the item configuration and supply chain, this is where you could change, say, your vendor stock number or supplier stock number. This is where you would change that. There's a bunch of stuff in here that you can only look at and you cannot change. That is why when you set it up, if this is not set up correctly in the item configuration and supply chain, you're going to have a problem. It's going to be hard to do. But there are a few things in here and you can go through there, explore. This is basically the same. You're going to put your item number. And here again, you can choose everything under the sun in the supply chain, or you can choose things that you want. So here, let's say, and you can see where it says read only, it means that you can't change those things. So if you want to, your accounting department, you can't change that. Buying region, nope. Didn't put it in right the first time, problem. Break pack, you said yes, oh boy. Too bad. Orderable G10 and G10, you put that in wrong, man. You didn't do it in One World thing. Sorry. And so there's a bunch of, but there are other things that you can do, like item status code, Walmart department number. I don't think you can do it that. Your Walmart factory ID, you can put that in. Let's say that you didn't have it and you just put in none. Now you found your, you can go in and change it there. Supplier stock number, your season. There's a bunch of stuff in here that you can change that doesn't have read only, but there's a lot that you can't.
If you download the whole sheet, not just specifics, as long as you don't change anything, when you re-upload, nothing's gonna change.
Correct. If you download the entire sheet, you can change what you want to change and then upload it. None of that other stuff is going to change because you didn't affect it. The only thing that's going to change, so basically think about it as it copies over what's there. So if you didn't change anything that was there, it's going to copy over what's there. It'll just change what you changed. I don't like doing that because it gives me, 85 columns, and I don't want to look through 85 columns. I usually know what I need to change and what I'm looking for. The only reason I would do that is to find out what's in there for everything. So, wow, we got through that. We got through that. I was afraid that we wouldn't have time. I'm so sorry. I rolled through that. Okay, guess what? We have all kinds of time to talk today. Okay, perfect. Oh yeah, we do. Okay, do you guys want me to go over anything in specifically, say the item sheet setup or anything like that?
Yeah, I just had a question.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about content scores.
Yes, questions about content scores.
There, do you have anything in particular that you know of that really drives it home and really boost those scores?
So what are the things that really drive your scores up? Making sure you have good images. Images are king. I had a buyer tell me that 40% of their sales are now coming from site to store. 40% of their sales. This is a food item. So you can imagine if you do not have good images and 40% of their sales are coming from not being in store, it's a food item, but from people ordering it and picking it up, that is humongous. So images are super important. Making sure that you have the right descriptions about your items, the right features about your items, making sure that you have, if you're a food item, making sure you have all your nutritional information, as much information as you can put in there about your item so that when the consumer is looking at it online. So all of this is about making sure that your consumer can really, really go through your site and say, oh, I'm going to pick this one versus this one. And that's what it comes down to. You might lose a sale because your content wasn't good enough as your competitors. So, and then the last thing is making sure there's a company called Bizarre Voice. I'm sure you guys have all heard of it. Making sure you're working with a company that's going to help you get your reviews in, making sure people are reviewing your items, that you have, feedback on your items. All of that stuff is super important. That's going to push your scores up.
I've got some online questions.
Okay.
What is the best way to view a history of changes made to an item in item?
Okay, so in item 360, if I can find it. I don't know that I can find it. There's actually, if you go to your item, click on the three little dots and go to item configuration. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's usually a history of changes. I found that a while back, and you can see what the history is. And it also shows you the history of what they have changed internally. So not just the things that you've done, but what they have changed.
Go for it.
When you're talking about like One World Sync, if you find a mistake, or if the global team in Europe that manages all of our information, right? So if they republish an item, does that automatically update?
You have to delete it from Walmart first. You have to, if you've published it and set it up, you need to go back to One World Sync and say delete or unpublish. It'll take in One World Sync. No, once it's an item 360, you can't really delete it from anything unless you get help from them, and that's tough. So they unpublish from Walmart. It takes 25 hours before it's unpublished. So you have to wait a period. Let's say that you do it at noon on today. It won't be unpublished until 1 o'clock tomorrow. Then you're going to go in, find the item, and fix it, and then republish it to item 360 or to Walmart.
You brought up One World Sync, so I'm going to get into it.
Get into it.
How do you use One World Sync prior to item 360? So I believe the question is about how you connect the two applications together.
Okay, so One World Sync is a portal that talks. It's basically talks, and all of those portals that are global data portals, they talk to each one of the retailers. Each retailer has its own identifier number when you publish to them. So they connect and they pull in the relevant information. So what you want to put in One World Sync are things you want to prepare by putting in things like, not necessarily images, because Walmart's going to ask you for the images again. So I wouldn't even worry about images. I put images in One World Sync more because if I have to publish to Kroger, they will take those images from there, but Walmart won't. So things like the GTINs, the dimensions, the weights, some of the relevant information, such as if you're a food item, like content of the food, expiration dates, start dates. Basically, it's logistics information that you want to upload that you won't have to re-upload. You can put the item description, but you're still going to have to go in and write a whole dissertation of item description, 4,000 characters. Features, it's not going to put those features in there. You can put them in One World Sync, but it's not going to transfer. The things that are transfer are mostly to logistics parameters or data, weights, tie high, dimensions of the item. That's mostly what it's going to upload.
Do you find, all the companies that I work for, that's typically managed at like at a global brand level, or at least at a global supply chain level, as far as the information that's going in One World Sync?
Not necessarily. I do a lot of One World Sync. A lot of my customers, most of my customers are smaller suppliers. So they don't have, say, a global team. They don't have an infrastructure, which is the reason that they hire us as consultants to do the work for them. And so many of them that want me to do One World Sync have they set me up an ID and I go in and they give me I send them a sheet. I have a sheet called the One World Sync sheet. And that's all the information that I need from them. They populate that, I populate it into One World Sync. So most small teams, especially smaller teams, do not have that infrastructure to set up things in One World Sync. Yes.
You're leveraging is there any reason you want to update transportation info in item 360? Or would it be better to just keep it up to date?
The question is, would I update things in item 360 for logistics or more in One World Sync? If you have changes to your logistics information, I would update it in One World Sync, and you don't have to publish it as new. You can just republish it as a refresh and it'll send that information. But if you are using One World Sync, I would update it in One World Sync and then push it out. A couple of things it does is that if you're also sharing it with another retailer, now it's all updated in one place and you're just pushing it out. All you have to do is go in, fix it, and then publish it to that. So I think it's better to do it in One World Sync, especially with logistics information.
Have you seen any issues with connecting One World Sync and item 360 on the supplier side, or is that something you just need to reach out to One World Sync support for?
I'm going to go back to garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have the right information, it's going to literally, whatever you put into One World Sync, it's going to literally just send that into item 360. It is just going to push it out. So if anything is incorrect in item 360 or something didn't get populated, it's because it wasn't populated on this side. So basically it is just a dissemination portal. So think about it as being able to push it out, setting it up one time in this area, and then sending it out to Kroger, Myers, Target, Walmart, all of these other companies one time, or to each of their portals. You always have to go in and fix stuff like Kroger. You have to go in and choose because they have so many different brands, like store brands. You have to go and say, okay, this is only going to Safeway, or this is only going to Kroger, so this is only going to King Supers, or whatever it is. So those things you have to do in each one of their portals, just like you would have to do in item 360.
And just to clarify, One World Sync is not a retail link tool, so it's
It is a completely different portal that is separate and it's its own subscription. They're not associated with Walmart in any way.
If you upload an item, if you start the process of creating a new item 360, and you thought you synced it, but when you pull that when you download the sheet, there's not all that logistics information in there. That means it has completed, right?
Yes.
Then can you stop at that point and like try it again the next day?
Yeah, you can stop at any point. As a matter of fact, you can upload an item, and if it says once it goes to Walmart action required, yeah, kind of
Right.
you're committed.
Right.
But if it ever says supplier action required, you can click on the three little dots and say discard. So you can discard it at any moment. Once again, if you're using One World Sync, use it. It is a great portal to use. It is a great way to get your information. And if you ever have to pull anything back, it's so easy. It's so much easier to unpublish than to have to work with the help desk to try to get it unpublished or removed. It's almost impossible.
DeeDee, I just want to make sure that we are still repeating the questions. I think some of the people online are having.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's hard to juggle, so I appreciate it. You mentioned a content, I think it was Bizarre Voice. Is that the one? Could you just repeat what that was and why suppliers might use it?
So Bizarre Voice, I am not super familiar with Bizarre Voice. I've heard of Bizarre Voice, but Bizarre Voice is really, it's not associated with Walmart. And a lot of these are not associated with Walmart. They are, preferred vendors for Walmart, but they're not necessarily associated with Walmart. Bizarre Voice is a portal that, or a company that helps you get reviews for your items. So they go and they also, so that helps your content score If you have more reviews, Walmart wants 5 reviews or more on every one of your items. That's kind of the gold standard to get your content score up. So Bazaar Voice is one of the ones that I have heard of, and I've never worked with them, so I don't know how good they are. A lot of my clients work with them. So that's the only reason I'm familiar with them, because I don't do anything with my clients on content scores other than updating things like that they ask me to do, like descriptions and that kind of stuff.
They're heavy target. They started supporting Target and Rome. There's a whole lot of companies that help you. But they are.
Yeah.
They've established themselves as a great target resource for sure.
Yep.
I shared that in the chat, just to let everyone know. Let's go back to some of the other questions away from One World Sync. I think we answered all of those.
Okay,
We've got a question about virtual packs. Is there an ability to set up those in item 360?
that is the one question I don't know.
Okay.
I am not sure about that. I have not had to do that, so I am not familiar with setting up virtual packs. If you have a G10, an item G10 and a case G10, you can set it up in One World Sync. I mean, in item 360. Virtual ones, I am not sure about that. I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm just putting in the chat and I can share out the answer later.
Yeah.
For the people in person as well. If they set up virtual packs in item 360, let us know.
What's a virtual pack? Over the phone.
Yeah, so it's like you're selling 3 different items, and so you would sell them all as like each is, let's say, for $2. Well, selling it on Walmart.com for $2 for an item, like shipping is just gonna kill you. So you can say, well, I'm not making a 4-pack. However, if you want to order it on Walmart.com, it comes with a 4-pack. But so it's virtually a 4-pack, but like you need a configuration that Walmart says.
To say Walmart's
Yeah.
set that up for me, or they've done that.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, we've always done it with the replenishment manager or the buyer that. hey,
Yeah.
And the buyer's focused, like not, I know brick and mortar now owns all of Omni, but like the buyer, associate buyer who's kind of focused on the .com out there, so.
Yeah, the one thing I've seen is if you go into Walmart.com, sometimes they'll say it's a 3-pack, just because of the dollar ring. They will automatically set up their own multi-packs because it's not hitting the dollar ring.
Where'd this come from? They go, oh, we did that.
Yeah,
That's ground inventory or is it DSP?
Never had it on DSP, I only had it on store or.
and one of the reasons is, let's say that you have an item that's $1.50 and it doesn't hit the $5 ring that they are looking for. They're going to bundle it into a larger pack size.
All right, I've got a couple more questions.
Mhm.
Do we have to use third parties such as Syndigo to upload content, or can we do it?
Syndigo is another one. I forgot that name. That was it. Syndigo. You don't have to. You absolutely do not have to use One World Sync. You 100% do not have to use Syndigo. You do not have to use any of them. But if you mess it up and you got to pull it back, there's no way to pull it back because you didn't publish it. You set it up on your own. So you don't have to use that. I've used Syndigo in the past. I, once again, don't know that much about it, so I don't think I was doing it correctly. One World Sync was easier for me. So my clients that use One World Sync love it. My clients that use Syndigo, I just went direct. Make sure I have everything right. But yeah,
Also, Syndigo has relationships with other retailers, like we have situations where Syndigo is the only way you can update your imagery on.
Lowe's is one of them.
I mean, like all these.
Yeah.
There's different companies, so I didn't realize that they do some of the stuff maybe One World Sync does.
They do exactly the same. The only thing is that Syndigo has to go through One World Sync because One World Sync is a preferred. That's why. It's a preferred vendor for Walmart. So if I publish, this was one of the things with Syndigo is that if I published on Syndigo, I had to wait for them to publish to One World Sync, and then I had to wait for One World Sync to publish to Walmart. So rather than waiting 2 hours, now I was waiting 4 hours. But with this one client, they do a lot of things with Lowe's and Home Depot, and Syndigo, it's the only way that they can publish things to Lowe's, 100%. Lowe's will not take anything else. So just as Walmart won't use Syndigo to publish, Walmart goes through One World Sync.
One more questions online. Appreciate all the questions and helpful insights as well in person. Question is, when you set up an item in item 360, how do you get it to show up on Walmart.com? I have some items that are active, but they don't show up on a .com page.
That is. Yes. The question is, how do you get your item to show up on Walmart.com that you've set up in item 360? First of all, you need to set them up as shared. Make sure that it is shared so that it's shared on both on the portal and on Walmart on item 360. So to push it out to Walmart.com. Most things should be on Walmart.com. The whole point of item 360 is so that everything will show up on Walmart.com. But you have to choose that it's a shared item.
We've got more questions. One is about item swap or quick mods. Is that something that you can do in item 360, or do you have to go through another channel?
I am not sure about that. I don't work on that, and I'm sorry. I don't have an answer for that.
No, you're okay. If you can just repeat that.
Okay, sorry, say the question again.
Yeah, it's with item swap or quick mods initiatives, can you do those on item 360?
So the question is with item swap or new initiatives, quick mods, can you do that on item 360? I don't have the answer for that. I am not sure if you can do that on item 360. I think that would be definitely a question for your buyer.
See, most people do it through their buyer.
Yeah.
If you're doing it, you did mention though, if you're trying to link an item, is there something in item 360 that you know?
Yes, so there was on the page, go back. Yes, so the question is, can you link an item in item 360? Yes, you can technically. I'm sorry, let me go back. Okay. Yeah, just a few. Okay, so yes, you can actually put the item that you're replacing in either on the sheet that you download or on the page if you're doing it on the page. And it is right here. It says replaced item number. That is not always a sure way to get that done. You will need to fill out usually an item maintenance form and send it back to your replenishment manager, to your buyer, so that they can link those items. It doesn't always happen. I've put my number in there and I've had to still go back and fix it.
So you're saying to link it as is, like you're changing the pack size or you're changing something that it's the same, right?
Yes, it's the same item.
So you're replacing this item with a different item.
No, so the question is this is only for replacing the same item with a different configuration. Yes, that is exactly right. You can't change, you can't say, hey, I had a Hello Kitty doll and now I want it to be Scooby-Doo. Because I think Scooby-Doo would sell better. No. It's the same item. Let's say your Hello Kitty doll was packed 4, now you're packing it 8. That's where you would change that out because you want that. So this is for logistic purposes. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to make sure that the right item is in prime position and is being ordered correctly.
I have another troubleshooting question. Our company has an item show up in our item 360 that is not our product. Walmart is making us remove it via maintenance. They're telling us it might take 90 days to remove. DeeDee, have you seen that issue before? And if so, how would you troubleshoot that?
Okay, so you really can't do it in a maintenance. There is no way to remove. You cannot remove an item that has been set up. Period. End of story. There is no way for you guys to remove the item. Walmart has to remove that item. So I would go back to the help desk and say, we are not allowed to remove an item. Please remove the item. It is not our item. I would go back to them time and time again. You do not have the ability, if I could remove items, oh my gosh, I would be the happiest person on the planet. I wish I could. Nope. You can't. Has anybody ever tried to remove an item and not been successful? You cannot, once it is set up. The only way to remove an item is if you put it in an item in One World Sync and then you unpublished it. It's the only way. You have to open a ticket. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think I repeated that question. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I know it's a lot to juggle. Okay. Perfect. We've got a couple more questions. Do we have any more in person? I want to make sure. For packing errors. All right, this one's a little bit long. The GTN for a case and the GTN for a unit are creating packing errors. What would you recommend to put on the shipping label? Should I put the GTN for the case or the unit on the shipping label?
The question is, what should you put on the shipping label? If there's an error in the shipping label?
Yeah, there's an error in the shipping label. And they're asking, should they put the GTIN for the case or the unit on the shipping label?
Okay, the case G10 always goes on the shipping label, always. Because when it gets to Walmart, it is scanned. There is a sheet that I recommend that they go into Retail Link and download. It's called secondary packaging information or secondary packaging guidelines. I would suggest they download that. They just came out with a brand new one that came out like on April 10th, which I saw something about it. And I'm like, oh, I better download that. They need to download that to make sure that they are following all of the compliance issues on labeling. Their Fix-It portal and their SQEP portal is going to blow up if they do not fix these.
You're very true. You're very right.
Yes.
The secondary packaging here online. Thanks. Last question, and this is just came back from the One World Sync.
Okay.
Ending before we begin. Will One World Sync data be prioritized over changes made in item 360, or will changes need to be made in both systems?
It depends on what the changes are. Remember that One World Sync really only deals with your logistics information. So anything that's logistics, you're going to fix in One World Sync and you're going to publish back. You're going to delete it or unpublish it, fix it, send it back. Anything that's content driven, you're going to have to fix in item 360. I didn't repeat that question again.
No, you're good. I put it in the chat. We found the system.
I'm so bad at that.
No.
I'm sorry.
Well, everyone, let's give DeeDee a hand. She did a phenomenal job. DeeDee, thank you so much
Welcome.
for leading us through all the content. I'm going to get to the emails. We're just going to click through 7,000 slides. DeeDee drove up from Little Rock, so I really appreciate that she could make it here in person. Again, these are our emails, so if you want to get in contact with DeeDee or the company that she consults with, she has her own consulting company, but also she works with Trend Results. We partner with them pretty often. You can get in touch with her. She is obviously a whiz at item 360, but she has wizardry skills in lots of retail link areas. And then we also have my email if you want to get in contact about Supply Pike, any of the supplier wiki resources. If you liked this content, if you want a whole hour on One World Sync, we will do it. So just let us know. And if you want to check out supplypike.com, we just updated our website. It looks very snazzy. So thank you for everybody who came in person. Thank you to our participants online. Appreciate all of your questions, and we hope to see you at another event. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Bye.